Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is just going to be kind of a quick informal update on the Swordswomen tarot cards. Now, if you're a backer who's super busy, just know that the cards are kind of moving along as scheduled, so everything's good, so you can go on about your day. But if you have some time, pull up a chair, grab a hot beverage, because we're looking at two new portraits, not one, but two, oh boy, um, that have been finished for the cards. So let's take a look. Let me pull this up here. Okay. So this is our, I'm going to show you two pictures for our inspiration. Now, this next swordswoman is a sword swallower. And you might be like, well, Alex, because most of our swordswomen thus far have been maybe like combatants. This is almost kind of like a different genre, but still a swordswoman. I wanted to have a different variety. So we have swordswomen who actually fought in real like conflict and were killed or killed other people, like the Dahomey Amazons, etc. We have athletes like the Olympian, Ilona Elick. So it's like actual military stuff, sports fencing for like sport or leisure or athletics, even professional athletics, you could say. We also have rulers like Nefertiti, who's depicted, holding a sword as kind of a symbol of authority. That's all part of the history of the sword. Just the sword is a symbol to rule, even if they weren't actually fencing people, sport in the Olympics, etc. So I thought, why not one or two kind of like wild cards almost for our deck that kind of skirt the boundaries of what we would think of as a swordswoman, who we might usually think of as like fencing or whatever. So we have a sword swallower and then something else, which we'll get to. Here's our sword swallower. Here's the first picture, Edith Clifford. And I want you to remember this because she has lots of hair, which we incorporate into the portrait. And she also has a kind of a little crescent moon tiara looking thing. We incorporated that as well. So that's inspiration photo number one. Harry Houdini, while I'm pulling up the next picture, Harry Houdini himself heard about her act and he traveled to meet her specifically to see her swallow swords. And he wrote in great admiration, and Houdini was like, yeah, this lady's a real deal. She's toured Europe. She's really good presentation, really good dedication to her craft. I put that little excerpt that Houdini wrote about her in the little booklet that you'll get with the deck. And then here's the second inspiration photo. You can tell, hopefully that shows up okay. You can tell she has this kind of beautiful ornate dress on with these jewelry and pictures, or not pictures, but like flowers in her hair, ribbons in her hair. She's swallowing a ton of swords. So we use this as the pose reference, but then we also added that moon tiara. She's not wearing it in this photo, but she is in other photos, like the one I showed first. So I wanted to include that, and she actually has that on in more than one photo, actually. And then here it is, the finished portrait here. Dun da da da. Dude, isn't that cool? Some of the perspective will be off because it's on a computer screen, but you can see the detail, the flowers in her hair, the dress, the jewelry, and the moon tiara, right? It almost kind of looks fantastical because there's a freaking Sailor Moon tiara on her hair. There's a bunch of flowers. But then you go and you look at the actual photos. It's like, dude, she was wearing that thing. She had all the flowers. I mean, it's not as fantastical as you might think. Now, Edith Clifford is going to be the Lovers. Her act was billed as the Cliffords. So her husband would assist her as kind of like her stagehand. Even though it's multiple women, it's all her. It's kind of just showing different things that she would swallow and her husband. So she's the Lovers. And she's buried in Ohio, apparently. Let me see if I have that. handy. Well, I have a ton of other photos about her as well. And she managed, she did that for like 20 years, sword swallowing. And that's a real skill. I mean, you could potentially have an act that would provide for you and your family, you know, money, food, clothing, shelter. And that was a really important thing to have, you know, in the old world as well as today. So it's a pretty valid thing, Edith Clifford. There's a ton of vintage photos of her. Also some kind of like scandalous photos of her. So I guess she kind of did some posing as well. But she, after she retired, she ran a grocery, like a corner grocery store with her husband in Ohio. And she's buried there. Let's see, here's a good shot. So if you happen to be in that part of the United States, you can go see her grave, buried alongside her husband. And then I won't bother showing you all the tons of other photos I have of her. I'll just show you the reference to the card. Eventually, I would really like to do, you know, so the book, I've been working on the book as well, and I'm doing, if you've ever seen like a tarot booklet that comes with cards, you know, it's about yay big. I'm doing their portrait on one side and then, you know, a little blurb about the history and kind of trying to put in all the interesting details, maybe a quote here and there, or, you know, some main points of their life or like some of their accomplishments. But it's so hard to condense. I mean, it's underway. Most of it is written, but there's so much else I want to put in there, like pictures, other stories and anecdotes. I'd really like to one day do like kind of a full-on tome or book that has way more of these historical pictures, way more of their stories. But for now, it's coming along. It's looking really, really good. So I'll show you our other portrait we have done. Let's see. Okay, this has been interesting because some of these women, there is tons of source material for. I mean, one of our swordswomen was Harriet Tubman. A billion books written on her, obviously. And then some of these women we have tons of pictures of. Ilona Elick, there's really cool pictures of her like sitting and writing music at her desk, giving out chocolate to like young girls who are competing in fencing competitions. And of course the ones where she's at the Olympics and stuff. So some women are really heavily documented. Others, like Nefertiti or Lady Six Sky, our Mayan queen, kind of, you know, maybe there's some of them, there's some modern stuff written about them, but some of them, there's just so few primary sources. There's just a mention or two. The gladiatrix, the female gladiators, there's a few mentions, you know, scattered throughout, but there's just so little. We're kind of lucky we even know some of these people existed, right? Same with Walpurgis too. This is one of those ladies that I haven't really been able to find much. So here's our reference photo, and we have a sword juggler. Now, again, like I said, I wanted different types. This is the fool. So it's like a foolish thing to juggle knives, and, you know, you don't want to be irresponsible with blades. If there are any young Timmys watching this, or Taminas, please do not try to swallow swords or juggle knives or swords. But like I said, I wanted a variety, and this is the fool, so it represents perfectly. Because I was like, well, what historic figure am I going to make as the fool? I don't want to, you know, maybe if there's someone really like courageous or daring, kind of like a naiveness to them or something. But then I saw this and it just worked out perfectly. And obviously there's been like tons of women jugglers throughout history. And even there's like depicted in like old Egyptian walls and stuff, and or like Grecian urns. And so, like I said, we have actual people participating in war. We have people participating in sport. We have people, you know, kind of doing all these facets of things related to swords. And I thought, you know, a juggler and a sword swallower was just a really cool, interesting facet of swordswomen as well. And again, real skill. You know, I mean, there's an element of danger to this, obviously. You could support yourself, your family, if you had acts and you were in a circus or you could travel or whatever. Some of these, if you look up like biographies on some of these female jugglers, there's one who appeared in a movie with Fred Astaire. You know, they were doing a real craft. It's just kind of tangentially related to swords. It's not necessarily like combat and killing someone, but still a part of the story, and it fits with the Fool card. Now this lady here, I wasn't able to find anything on. You can search this image and search to your heart's content, and I have not been able to find anything as far as place of birth, name, stories about her life. So this is a kind of, it might have been a one-off kind of postcard. You know, in the Victorian ages, when photography came out, they were like, this is amazing, and everyone started kind of trading these little photo cards with each other. You know, you would have one of like an actress you liked, or maybe a daring, interesting feat or whatever, and of course postcards, etc. So this might just be a studio photo of a lady who we don't know anything about anymore, so it's kind of lost to history. So it's kind of sad that we lost the story, but at least we get to commemorate her. So here's our portrait. Kind of remember that image in your head. And voila. Look at that. Here we go. Boom. I don't know how well you can see because it's screen on screen, but really nice color. Really nice attention to detail there. There we go. So those two, along with all the others, will be included in your cards. That's mostly it. I've been working on the book. I'll give you a more detailed update sometime. It's just not glamorous, fun stuff. It's not as exciting as unveiling a new portrait. It's literally stuff just like messing with layouts and trying to format and figure out how text looks good, you know, over here maybe, and stuff like that. So if there's anything new or crazy or wild developing on that, eventually I'll give you an update, but that's just kind of business as usual. So huge thank you so much for sponsoring this project. It's kind of crazy to me that, you know, you're gonna get, well, we all will, we're gonna get a deck of cards, and it's gonna have all these portraits. It's gonna have 22 Swordswomen portraits in there, and every single one has a story, has complexity, has really interesting stuff for your eye to see. The wardrobe, the weapons, the stories, the history. Yeah, I'm not interested in this stuff at all, right? So there's so much. I think it'll be so fun. And so thank you again so much for helping me bring it to life. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you so much. And let's see. If anything else comes up, I'll let you know. But other than that, it's moving right along. And then for our next one or two portrait unveils, we are heading back to Asia. We did Europe today, and then, or actually, well, I'm assuming Europe for the juggler. Could be America. Could be. So I don't know, but let's just say Western. We did West today. Next unveiling will be Eastern. I don't know when exactly that will be, but look for it. And that's all I can tell you for now. Think Eastern. And that'll be the next one or two portraits for sure, an Eastern theme. So thank you, and hope you're having a good, dude, it's already February. I was about to say January. I hope you're having a good February. And I don't know. Other than that, that's all there is. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.